strange, isn't it? How a walk in the woods amongst the wildlife and the birds and the animals can be so enchanting in the middle of the day. But that same woodland in the dead of night, now that's a different thing altogether. I think I'm going to go inside. Rather like my woods, some of the old military airfields dotted about the countryside can be busy tourist attractions during the day, but take on an entirely different mood at night. More of that in a moment. In this week's programme, Lizzie, our psychic medium, finds a ghost who is accustomed to some very gracious living in Bedford. And later, she uncovers quite a surprise for a couple in Colchester. As usual, I have a local legend for you. And this time it's about a headless smuggler. But first, the airfield. By the summer of 1943, our region had a greater concentration of military airfields than anywhere else in the world. Spread throughout the countryside, they were the scene of intense activity and high emotional stress, as British and American servicemen lived a here today, but maybe not tomorrow sort of life. It was at just such an airfield, at Topcroft near Bungay in Suffolk, that Jeff and Barbara Nunn pitched their tent one night for what turned out to be a seriously frightening experience.
I heard what sounded to me like a machine gun, and it was 5 o'clock in the morning, and I turned over and Barbara was hitting her shoulder with her hand so hard that the thump, thump, thump noise was what I'd mistaken for a machine gun.
There was a white, blinding flash that seemed to come into my eyes, and I was in a cockpit, and there was gunfire flashing in my face, and I remember looking down, and I could see bombs dropping, and then there seemed to be a burst of gunfire, and my arm seemed to be moving against my chest in time with the gunfire. And then I was conscious that Jeff was waking me up.
My first reaction, I'm still half asleep, was to hold her hand so that she could no longer hit her shoulder, because I was thinking she'd bruise herself. And I held her hand and put my arm round her and spoke softly to her. And it took me about 10 or 15 minutes to actually bring her out of whatever it was she was in. You have to bear in mind that for a living she's a nurse. She's quite used to dealing with stressful situations. I mean, we've been together for over 25 years, and I've never known Barbara to react in her sleep to any dream like that. 6 o'clock the following morning, I was awoken by somebody screaming in my ear. It turned out to be Barbara.
Again, this white, blinding, pulsating flash of light, and my eyelids were flickering. And it was then I became this pilot again, like a continuation of what happened the previous night. And then I could smell burning flesh, and I thought I was being burnt in the plane, and I cried out, and then I was conscious of Jeff speaking to me.
To experience it was very, very scary. In retelling, it sounds, I should think, as if we're talking about a dream, but it was a devil of a job to get rid of whatever it was that was affecting us, and that's no dream. That's wide awake reality. Because I'd been in haunted situations, or supposedly haunted situations, and experienced nothing, I was thinking that people were just getting excited and were getting hysterical about things that weren't there. This weekend changed me forever.
When I first heard that story, I thought she was just having a nightmare, but 2 nights running and unable to be woken by her husband? I don't think so. Well, from an isolated airfield to the middle of a town, this next story comes from a beautiful old house in Bedford, a museum and art gallery where the staff have had numerous unexplained encounters. We sent Lizzie, our psychic medium, to unravel the mystery. As before, we told her absolutely nothing before she arrived to meet Caroline Bacon, Jenny Clark and Sandra Matthews, all of them staff at the Cecil Higgins Gallery.
Hi.
I'm Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
I'm the secretary at the gallery.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I'm curator of the gallery.
Hi, Caroline.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Sandra. I'm Visitor Services Assistant.
The building combines an art gallery in a modern extension with a museum of Victorian furniture and artefacts in the original house. But it was in the modern extension where Lizzie's psychic powers first went to work.
First of all, I want to say that I'm getting a huge sort of oppressive feeling in here. A feeling of depression and just heavy feeling.
Everyone who works in this gallery, they always feel ill.
Very heavy.
They feel that they've got headaches, sore throats. They don't feel happy in this gallery.
I'm also seeing soldiers. I'm picking up on
Yes.
soldiers.
Very interesting.
And I'm also smelling something that smells like gunpowder or is that kind of... The word regiment it keeps coming in as well. Is that making sense to you?
Absolutely,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Where we're standing at the moment would have been the old stable block for the Higgins house. But before them, this was the old militia depot. This would be where the Bedford Regiment was based.
Ah, right,
And they
okay.
also would have kept their ammunitions here.
Ah,
So
okay.
it all makes perfect sense.
And tell me what you've seen.
We're doing a costume exhibition with lots of costume dummies. And when I left in the evening, the costume dummies were scattered all over the gallery because they were going to be in different parts of the gallery. When I arrived the next day, they were in a very straight row in front of the double doors. So as I opened in the morning, the first thing I saw was a row of costume dummies, but not only that, as I opened the door, a ladder fell on me. Well, it would have been impossible to put the ladder there because I had to lock the door behind me at night, and I was the last person in the gallery.
Somebody didn't want you to come in.
No.
It's not the first time I've heard of a spirit actually uniformly setting things out.
Really?
Yeah,
Tidying up.
Yeah, tidying up. Absolutely. Okay, so where are we off to next?
Well, we're going to go into the old house now.
Beautiful room.
It is.
There's a completely different atmosphere in here because I am aware of a female presence in this room. This was her home and her place. I feel that somebody that she's connected with has gone away and it's as if she's waiting for them to come back. So I don't know if this was her brother or her husband or her son, but it was a male who went away.
One of the sons went away to sea. He joined the Navy.
He did?
He did join the Navy.
That would fit in with what I saw more than the woman. I didn't see the woman, but one morning I was coming from the office area through here and I saw someone, a gentleman, standing at the bottom of the stairs, and I only caught a glimpse out of the corner of my eye. And I just assumed it was a member of staff, and I went down to the other end, but everyone that was in the building that day was down in the kitchen, and I said, well, who's just been in the Victorian mansion? And they said, nobody's been down there. So that was quite amazing. And the previous curator, she saw a gentleman's figure. She was coming from this way, and she saw someone disappear round the corner, but by the time she got to here, he'd gone.
And did anyone describe what he looked like?
Tall and in a dark suit.
Right. I've just walked through a coal spot just here. picking up on children, and I'm picking up on a governess or a nanny. And I feel she lived beyond that wall with the children. This is interesting because it looks an awful lot like a nursery to me. I think there were 2 beds in here and a chair by the window, and a woman would sit by the window. I think we're talking about this governess or this nanny again. There's a lot of this, glancing out into the garden, sitting down, but she's an absolute control freak. She likes to completely...
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely, perfect sense. And every time I come into this room, I feel that there's someone watching, and it's not, just spying, it's a critical watching.
Yes.
Not pleasant. And
No.
a lot of people don't like this room. A lot of staff won't actually come in this room.
And there is a very strong presence just where you're standing. I have to walk through there to do the grills on the windows every morning, and it does always feel very oppressive just where you are there.
I'd quite like to move out of this spot because she's not happy with me being here.
Can you imagine staying behind in your own house as a ghost and having it open to the public with people traipsing round all day? Well, there's not much chance of that happening out here. We're going to take a break now. We'll be back in a moment with Liz's surprise for an unsuspecting couple in Colchester. Don't go away. We often think that a ghost comes to the house where he or she once lived. Well, that wasn't the case in this next story, where Lizzie went to a townhouse in Colchester to meet Emma O'Toole and Darren Meeks, along with Darren's sister Louise.
Hi, Lizzie.
I'm Darren.
Hi, Darren. Hi.
Hi, Louise.
Hi, Louise. Hi, nice to meet you.
Emma.
Hi, Emma. Nice to meet you.
Emma and Darren have never really settled in their house, and Lizzie was hardly through the front door before she began to pick up why.
The first thing that I'm picking up on here is that you hear things. That's what I'm picking up on more than anything else, is that you hear things.
Yes.
You sit here and you hear things going on upstairs.
That's
Incredible.
exactly
Exactly.
what
Incredible.
happens.
Right,
exactly
okay.
what happens.
Right, okay. Just briefly, Darren, tell me a bit about what you experience in this room.
We hear a floorboard creaking upstairs,
Mhm.
which is, it's about the same time every day, usually around about 9:05 at night. You can hear as if there's somebody walking on a straight line straight out of the house, and sometimes you get to hear the person coming back. The strange thing is if you sit upstairs at that time, you can't hear the noise upstairs, but you can downstairs.
I'm getting a very strong sense here that you have all lost somebody that's connected with all 3 of you in some way, or that there is certainly a connection with the family. Somebody who's come back to watch over you. I also get a feeling that you feel as if somebody touches you. Sometimes you feel like somebody's touched you. Is that correct?
It's with Louise, yeah.
I can feel somebody touching my head. Is that what you feel? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've just had that just now. You're right.
Yeah.
I also get a sense that somebody does actually walk into this room and walks out again. But it's more a sense than anything else. You're right, Louise.
Yeah, I'm quite shocked.
I think we need to go upstairs, and I think I'll be able to pick up more upstairs if I may, and then,
Yeah, it's fine,
you know,
yeah.
if we need to
Yep.
come back down, we can come back down again.
Come through, it's just in here.
Thanks.
This is the room.
So I take it you two have actually experienced things in this room?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
What I'm getting is it's particularly this spot here. It's almost just overlooking the bed that I get a feeling that somebody watches over you. That's
Right.
what I'm feeling. It's a very protective feeling.
Right.
You felt presence in the evening, haven't you? At
Yeah.
night, in the middle of the night, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
What have you? Tell me what you've experienced in this room.
In this room, when we first moved into this house, we had a bed here where we're standing on the floor. We just had a mattress on the floor, and we'd wake up in the middle of the night, and Darren could hear things downstairs, and it sounded like people playing an old-fashioned game where they were throwing coins across the floor, and he felt a presence standing over him in the bed. I couldn't feel
A
it.
very strong presence. I was laying with my back to the door here, and it was as if someone was standing where you are, and it was like they were rubbing the back of my neck. And I wanted to look, but for the life of me, I couldn't move my head. I was just rigid.
Stuck to the spot.
Yeah, and it was something I'd never experienced before.
Yeah.
Never ever, and it was frightening, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, very frightening.
There's nothing to be frightened of. I
Yeah,
know that's easy for you to say. There isn't anything to be frightened of. I think we're looking at your grandmother here. You guys, your grandmother. Do you know? Did you know her? Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Fine. Oh, she's moving around here now.
She's here.
Yeah. She's here. Something's upset her. Something has upset her within the family. Something that happened just before she died or just after, but something's not quite right. I've just seen this argument almost over a funeral. I mean, it's almost like there was bitterness over a funeral. This is what I'm picking up on. There's just animosity going on big time here. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And somebody didn't apologise or say sorry and are now regretting it, or they should regret it. That's what I'm getting, is somebody hasn't... Yes. Is there an involvement with a sister, your father's sister? Is there
Yes.
Is there a problem with your father's sister? Right, okay.
She
Okay.
died very recently.
Can you kind of elaborate more without...
It's a recent funeral. My aunt, who was my dad's sister, died recently and suddenly of cancer. In actual fact, her funeral was last week, and there has been sort of some family dispute over the funeral.
There's a woman involved in this who's very stubborn.
Yeah.
Very stubborn. Living.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who's that then?
I don't want to mention
Okay.
names in case this isn't sorted out before it goes out.
What I'm getting is that she's distraught about the fact that two people or two parts of a family have split up. She wants to make it right. She wants to fix it. And this is the feeling she gets, that she needs to fix it. She wants to fix it. She appreciates that it freaks you out, particularly you, Louise. I think you get the most freaked out about this. But it's really important that she gets this message across. And so, you know, the banging of doors and the creaking of the floorboards and the saying things is simply her trying to say to you, I need you to hear me. I need you to understand what's going on here. And for a spirit to touch your head is actually a very sweet and gentle thing to do. It's, you know...
feel like that.
No. The reason that she's been doing all this is because she wants you two to try and sort something out. Because you two get on with each other, and she's proud of that. But what she's telling me is that you two are an example of family members getting on with each other, and that's quite important.
I'm not sure I'd want my relations following me around after I'd thought they'd gone. But there again, perhaps it might be nice to have someone around as my guiding star. This next chap could do with a helping hand, that's for sure. Ghostly stories of things that go bump in the night in the seaports and fishing villages of the East Coast can be counted in their hundreds. Although a lot of them, I'm sure, were more likely to have been not ghosts but smugglers, getting a bit careless as they heaved those barrels of contraband whiskey and rum in and out of tavern cellars. However, this next story is about the ghost of a smuggler. Over the last 150 years, in the Norfolk village of Haysborough, there's been a string of reports from local people who say they've seen a legless human torso moving along the road between the sea and Pump Hill. There's a gap in the sand dunes known as Cart Gap, which leads to a road taking you to the village. It was here that smugglers brought their contraband ashore. There was an old farm building beside the road, indeed it's still there, where smugglers and crooked merchants could do their deals. The story goes that on one such night the deal went wrong and one of the smugglers was murdered. Now, of course, there was a body to dispose of, so they cut off his legs and tried unsuccessfully to hack off his head. Throughout all of this, 3/4 of a mile away, the villagers slept peacefully in their beds. The murderers decided that the best place to dump him was in the village well, and that is what they did. Incidentally, the well was filled in during the 1960s, but you can still see the exact spot as you drive into the village. It wasn't long before local people began reporting nighttime sightings of a legless torso with its head hanging down by a flap of skin. This dangling head seemed to be trying to peer down into the well. Eventually, towards the end of the 19th century, a group of villagers persuaded a chap called Spuddy Harmer to go down the well and see what he could find. It seems it was one of those acts of persuasion which followed a few drinks in the local tavern, but anyway, down goes Spuddy with a candle, and a few minutes later up he comes with the remains of 2 human legs. That was over 100 years ago now, but the Pump Hill ghost continues to be seen from time to time. So if one night you happen to be driving into Haysborough in the early hours of the morning and you encounter this ghastly sight, try not to be too frightened. It's just an old smuggler looking for his legs. On that happy little note, I'm going to leave you. Next week, we've the story of a man who ran over a ghost in his car, and then, years later, ran over him again. Lizzie discovers ghosts at a hotel in Shoebury Ness and a council house in Wroxham. And I have a story about some murderous monks. Sleep well, if you can.